よろしくお願いしますね. Because obviously, my whole goal is to get you guys to speak. And if I start speaking in Japanese, you're not going to be able to really think in English. So, hey, thanks for coming. This is live. I'm going to take a few seconds for everybody to gather around. So, get a cup of coffee, maybe drink a beer if you like a beer at this time of day, because it is 7 o'clock. A lot of you may be finishing work right now. And also, I'm just going to take a second to fix this camera a little down here. There we go. Get a nice full picture of me here. So today we're going to be talking about talking, if that makes any sense, because I've been thinking a lot and I've been traveling a lot and I just got back from Vietnam. Well, I mean, just got back. I'm in Korea now, so I'm not back anywhere. So I was in Vietnam, I'm in Korea now, and I was just thinking about, well, how much English that I'm using everywhere I go because I don't speak Vietnamese and I don't speak Korean, so obviously I got to speak English, right? So when you travel, English is kind of the language that you should be using because you get more bang for your buck. If you go to Vietnam, if you go to Korea, or if you go to America, you can use English and you're going to get to communicate with people more than if you use Japanese. Like in Vietnam, maybe there was like one person that spoke Japanese, and that was crazy. I met him at a cafe, and he said he watched a lot of anime. But anyway, most people speak English, not Japanese, when you start traveling around. So I was thinking about, well, you guys, obviously, because having learned Japanese, I feel it is my life goal to return the favor to all the people that helped me learn Japanese. I want to help you guys learn English. So I was thinking about it, and you guys just got to start speaking more often. And with all the tools that you have, such as the internet, you should be able to speak English all day long if you want. But a lot of people don't speak English all day long for whatever reason. I'm not exactly sure. So basically, I'm here to help you guys flip a switch in your head and just start speaking English more often. And that all starts obviously just kind of like a kid by listening to English as often as possible for as long as possible. So that's why I wanted to do this live stream only in English so you guys get used to English, because obviously you guys want to speak English, right? Well, here's the thing. I want to talk about goals a little bit, but our goal is more than just to learn English. Our goal is more than just to speak English. Our goal is to basically meet people. That's right. We got to go out and actually talk to people. It actually drives me crazy when I see ads for learn English with this AI helper, right? Because what are we trying to do here? What's the goal here? Are we trying to speak English? Are we trying to learn English? Or are we trying to meet people? And if we're trying to avoid people, then please go ahead and just do the AI thing. But it's like, oh, you want to actually meet people, right? So when are you going to meet people? You're staring at your book, you meet a teacher, but your teacher's your teacher, you know what I mean? And then you avoid people even further by getting an AI assistant chatbot. That's really not going to help you, I don't think. So basically, long story short, when are you going to meet people? That's the question. And you got to get out there and actually meet people in order to meet people. There's no avoiding meeting people if you actually want to speak English. Now, if you want to start a YouTube channel and just talk to a camera like this, go ahead and you can start speaking English by yourself all day long if you want to. But most people, I would assume, deep down, if you really think down with the bottom of your heart, you want to actually meet people. That's your goal. So if you want to meet people, then you got to get out and meet people. But people freak out. They're like, well, what do I say? I don't know what I say. I don't know what to do. This is scary. What am I going to do? Well, that's why I'm going to cover 8 questions that you can learn and use when you meet people out in reality, like, at the station or at the coffee shop. And if anybody thinks that there's no opportunity to use English in Japan, you haven't been leaving your house often, because every single time I go out in Japan, I always hear "gaijin okunai." Maybe I'm in Tokyo, maybe I'm in Kyoto, right? But if you go out, there's a high probability that you're going to run into somebody that speaks English. And even then, this is kind of like a mastering your mind kind of thing, but you don't even need foreign people to speak English. You can just speak English all by yourself if you want to. You can just become a person who speaks English, and therefore that's the language that you use anytime that you meet people. That takes a little more brain power and how do you say, confidence to do that. But in the meantime, it is much easier to talk to people that speak English in English. So therefore, let's just stick to that subject because I don't want to get too complicated on people. So anyway, really quick before we get started here, this is live, guys. So go ahead and relax. When you do a video, a lot of times it's just like stick to the point, stick to the point, stick to the point, stick to the point. And I, as a person who kind of likes to talk a little bit, I like to get off track a little bit. But guys, sit back, relax. We're going to take a few minutes. We're going to really flip a switch here. We're going to get into the mode. We're going to get into the mood of speaking English. And this takes time. All right. There is no fast path to speaking English other than just speaking English. You can watch 20 how-to videos, but all you got to do is just start now. And you can start at the bare minimum of just listening, right? Obviously, eventually, hopefully you start speaking, but that's my goal, is to set you up for success when you finally do go outside and actually do see somebody. I don't know, maybe some of you are on the train right now, maybe some of you are at a cafe right now, and maybe you're surrounded by foreign people right now. And so you're gonna have an opportunity to instantly use what I'm about to teach you, but nonetheless, we're going to use these questions the next time that we run into somebody out in reality somewhere, and then you can start having a conversation with real people who are going to give you real English, who are going to give you real feedback and give you the opportunity to say something else. But these questions are basically the questions that I would say to anybody that I meet for the first time, on one way or the other. There's the basic general question that you can use for anybody. And then there's the questions you can use if you really want to get to know somebody. So we're going to kind of do like a little ranking here. We got 8 questions, and these questions, seriously, the questions that I use when I meet new people, basically anywhere in the world that I go, Vietnam, Korea, Japan, even in America. These are the questions that I use, and you can use them as well. So take a sip of your coffee, sit back, relax, and let's do this. And guys, thank you so much for joining, because this is live. Really quick, I saw a comment that said, アメリカじゃと南ありますね。ありますね。And, maybe I can do a video. And, I think about what's the video that you guys would be interested in, and I could do a video about like the Southern accent and the Western accent and the Eastern accent. I don't know. Maybe you guys would like it. So there's definitely a big difference. One of the problems of me doing a Southern accent, for example, is that my Southern accent is not as good as other people that do a Southern accent. So basically, I don't want to try and speak a Southern accent. So it'd be better if I just found footage of other people like in videos or in, you know what I mean? Because I only speak the California accent. So for me to do a Southern accent, New York accent, would kind of be embarrassing. So yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll make a video on that, and that could totally explain kind of like the differences between the different accents. Because there's a few, not exactly sure what they are. It's just kind of like, you know it when you hear it kind of thing. And I think that's interesting, obviously. So maybe you guys would find it interesting too. So that's a good idea. Thanks. And Josh here says, I usually get in VR, I make connections. Wow, that's a good way to use the internet. I'm actually looking forward to unless you know, Josh, unless you know like a better app or like a good app for meeting people, I am interested in the VR, the AR kind of headspace. And it would be cool if there was a cool VR app where you could meet people. So if you know one, let me know. Full disclosure, you guys know that I have an app, right? So basically, Apple sent me an email and they were like, "Hey, would you like to try the Apple Vision Pro? And maybe you can like develop an app for the Apple Vision Pro." And I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I can totally. I have an idea for an app for the Apple Vision Pro. I have an app." And it would be basically to make the color system into subtitles. So when you're talking to somebody, but I don't know how to code. And I lost my coder to a job 2 years ago. So it kind of makes it hard for me to develop this new app. But yeah, I'm extremely interested in VR as a way to meet people online because right now the internet kind of really just provides this one way experience. You know, it's either just like you're watching content, watching videos, looking at posts, right? You're just watching. It's like one way, right? But what really you need to do in order to get better with learning any language is actual interaction. You know, it's like you got to listen and then you got to respond. If there's no feedback, it's basically like, well, what are you doing? You're just listening to a lesson or you're giving a lesson like I'm doing now, right? So I don't really think YouTube is the most ideal place to learn a language. It's a nice place to get some information in the meantime, but eventually you got to get out there and you actually have to do the thing that's most important. And again, I mean, I use YouTube all the time. I learn a lot of things on YouTube. It's just I'm not learning English on YouTube. I learn like social media skills and stuff like that. And I was watching a video about a guy who was talking about, you know, how to do social media, how to become a YouTuber kind of thing. And he was talking about taking the action that you have to take to achieve your goals, right? So this led me to this thought. Well, what is the goal? Obviously, you guys want to speak English. Everybody says that. I want to speak English. But no, the real goal, the real thing that you want to do is get out there and meet people. That's what you really want to do. And if you don't want to meet people, then just stop watching right now and just give up on English because I don't know why you'd learn English if you didn't want to meet people. So I'm assuming that you want to meet people in reality or VR. Like I said, Josh, VR is interesting to me. If there was a good, reliable way to meet people on VR, I would probably do it more often. However, I really do like reality. I like going out, walking through a neighborhood, and seeing the sky, seeing people, and really interacting in reality. I understand that VR and the internet has its time and place. For example, if you're just stuck at home for whatever reason, or you're very far away. I mean, for example, when I was living in California, there weren't a lot of opportunities for me to speak Japanese because there weren't a lot of Japanese people where I was living. So the only place that I could possibly meet Japanese people was online, right? So the internet definitely has its place and its time for learning English, but it's not the only place. You know what I mean? It's definitely a place, but it's not the place, if you know what I mean. Reality is the place that you should go. And so basically, if you can get into reality, meet new people in reality, that's where you're going to enjoy the process of learning language. It's going to be way more fulfilling than watching this video, and hopefully you guys get out into reality and meet somebody soon. So, Unknown says, hi, how you doing? Let's get started here. I've got 8 questions that I want to show you guys. And these 8 questions are the questions that I myself use. Mayuko says, welcome back. Well, I'm back in Korea, or I'm back online actually. I was in Vietnam and I just didn't do any live streams because I was really busy doing the videos. And if you guys have been watching my videos, I don't know, I really do enjoy making videos in a sense because I enjoy thinking of what you guys want to watch. I enjoy thinking about like what's interesting. I have the analytics from YouTube so I can see who's watching my videos. I know the age range. Most people that watch my videos are my age or older. I'm learning so much by making videos, and that's what I really enjoy doing. So basically it comes down to, should I be doing a live stream or should I be making a video? And a lot of times I'll choose to make the video rather than the live stream, just because like when I do a live stream, look, there's 11 people watching right now, which is great. I'm glad that you 11 people are watching, and I'm thankful for this. But, you know, if I do a good video, I can be having like 1,000 people in an hour watching, you know, the actress video, for example. So, Mayuko, thank you. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here live with you guys. I guess it's kind of just like there's phases, you know, and making a video is for the masses, but doing a live stream is more interaction. There's more interaction between me and you. And so therefore it's just like a different thing. You know, if you have like a fork and a knife, you know, this is like deep cutting, deep level kind of stuff that we can do on a live stream. So I should do it more often. Hopefully I do it more often. We'll see. You know, I'm doing everything by myself as this YouTuber. If you look at all the other YouTubers, they have a team. Be nice to have a team, but basically I don't want a team, if that makes sense, because I mean, we can get into a whole other subject right there, but I don't want to be a teacher, if that makes any sense. I don't want you to take lessons, in fact. Um, Certain people definitely do need lessons, not going to lie. But for the most part, most people have already taken enough lessons and they just need to get out and talk to people. So basically, I want to start to focus, you know, more of my lessons onto anti-lessons, just getting out there, talking to people, and only the people that really need coaching basically should, you know, spend money on lessons, because for the most part, you're going to learn everything by getting into reality and talking to real people. And I could go into so many long story shorts, but you should check out my 3-step system where I talk about that. Maybe I should add that link somewhere, but you should see it somewhere. It's on my page. Check it out. I think it's like ima bairi, sugu bilingual or something like that. But I talk about how I learned Japanese, and it wasn't in a classroom and it wasn't from teachers, right? It was because I went out into reality. So, Naomi-san, I always enjoy. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy watching the live stream. It's a little bit different, obviously, because I'm trying to give you guys basically, like, if you have like other YouTubers and, you know, if you know, they have like a business, right? And so basically if you want to have like a lesson or something, you got to pay. I really do want to somehow give you guys the most valuable thing that I can possibly give you, which is pure English, for free. You know what I mean? So honestly, if I could get a visa, and this is just a whole other subject, because I don't have a visa, I'm not Japanese, right? So it's very hard for me to stay in Japan for a long time. But if I could, I would open up an office in Tokyo or something, maybe Kyoto, and basically just offer free lessons. Obviously, I would film everything, but basically, yeah, if I could, if I had the ability, to, I would offer free lessons, not all day, because, you know, I got to take a break every once in a while, but I would set up a chair, a table, 2 cameras, and a microphone, and just offer free lessons all day. Obviously, I'd film it, and obviously I'd put it on YouTube, but basically be a free lesson for anybody. So that's my real dream and goal. I just have to get an office space in Tokyo. So anyway, I'm working on it. All right. In the meantime, since I don't have an office space in Japan, we're going to meet here live on my channel, and I'm glad that you're here. So thanks for coming. I really feel like taking a drink of this coffee. I don't know if you guys know anything about Korea, but they offer this mega coffee. It's I don't want to say it's like Starbucks, because it's not. They don't offer normal coffee. And this is a problem I've been discovering around the world, is that a lot of coffee shops don't have coffee. They have Americanos, which is not coffee. If anybody wants to argue with me, don't, because you're going to lose. I like coffee a lot. And when I don't see coffee, it's just like, okay, where's the coffee? And they're like, oh, we have an Americano. It's like, well, that's not a coffee. So anyway, it's kind of like the saying goes, when in Rome. And basically, if I wanted to get a coffee, I would have to go half a mile away from here, which is a little too far. And so basically, screw it, I'm just going to drink an Americano. But the flip side, the positive side of all this is that Mega Coffee here offers a really large Americano. Mega, in fact. And it's only about $1.50, 150円ぐらいじゃない? So it's pretty cost efficient, if you know what I mean. So anyway, I'm going to take a drink. If you guys don't mind, you guys can take a drink of whatever you're drinking, and then we're going to get into the 8 questions, okay? All right, so these questions are the questions that I use when I meet people in America, in Vietnam, in Korea, in Japan. It just depends on who I'm talking to and how deep I want to go into the conversation. So the first question that I ask, if I had like a thing right here, I would put them up on the thing, but this is live, so you're just gonna have to listen, okay? First question is, what's up? It's not even really a question, if you know what I mean. You are asking a question, what's up, right? That's a question. Technically, it's a question. But it's like, basically, it's how you say hi. Don't say hello, don't say hi. When you see somebody that speaks English, who's obviously an English speech, well, okay, scratch all of that. When you're in Japan, the first thing you should probably do is greet somebody in Japanese. So say konnichiwa. And then when you realize that they don't speak Japanese, then switch to English. Okay, that's probably the most polite thing to do. So if you see somebody that is a foreign-looking person, non-Japanese person, it is best to just greet them in Japanese, okay? Konnichiwa, konbanwa. And then if they don't understand Japanese, then, oh, hey, what's up? Then just switch, just like that. Don't say hi, don't say hello. That's the quickest way to sound like you don't speak English, all right? When you say, what's up? Then you start to sound like, oh, you speak English. So the first question that you ask people when you meet them for the first time is, hey, what's up? Then maybe how you doing or something like that. But for sure, don't say hi, don't say hello, say what's up. All right, so what's up? First question right there. Now, if it becomes obvious, yeah, Naomi, show your son my videos. I would love to, I would love to teach junior high school kids English, to be honest, but my lessons would be too extreme for most junior highs. Honestly, I could try to make like a junior high English channel, basically, but I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. But they really should listen to some real English, to be honest. So yeah, bring them along. So yeah, because 12 is actually a perfect age to learn English, and it would take half a year if you do it correctly. But I digress, because I don't want to get into how easy it is to learn English if you just do the right things. It's not complicated. I have a 3-step video that explains everything, but yeah, welcome aboard to your son there. And then Josh, sup. Yeah, sup's fine too. Sup. I would actually, it was sup. I would say sup, what's up? It's like a what's up, right? So sup, and then I would shake my head up like that. That's how Japan, you kind of bow when you meet somebody, right? But a lot of Americans, at least, yeah, sup. That's how you greet each other. And so that is, yeah, and there you go. Not much. Good. It's like we're having a conversation. So, all right, then if you want to get to know the person that you're talking to in a very general way, all right? This is just kind of like for anybody, generic, obvious question, all right? The next question is, where are you from? Don't say, where are you from? All right. Do not talk like a textbook. Don't talk like a teacher, please. Talk casually. Talk like a human. And a human says, where are you from? I can show you, I'm going to show you guys a link later, just in case if you do want to practice these kind of phrases by yourself, because we have this like 省略パターン where we don't say, where are you from? We say, where are you from? Where ya, where ya, where you from? That's how we say it. And if you say it just like that, you're going to sound like you speak English. So, which then lets the person that you're talking to know that, oh, this guy actually speaks English, because everybody knows, it's quite famous that Japanese people have trouble with English. So when you display to people that, no, I actually speak English, they're going to feel more comfortable when they talk to you. So go ahead and use an accent when you speak English that makes people think, oh, this person actually knows how to talk normal English, cool. So you say, where are you from? Where are you from? And then once you get that information, honestly, like, I don't like this question, to be honest. I think that you can hear where somebody's from their accent, so you don't need to ask. Like literally, I was in Vietnam, I was on the elevator with this guy, and it was obvious he was from Australia. And I don't know why, but he asked me, where are you from? And it's just like, can't you tell? Like, duh. Like, obviously, right? Like, I'm totally from California. Why would you even ask, right? Because accent, right? But it's just one of those questions that everybody does to be polite, I guess. So you can use it as well. Where are you from? But honestly, like I said, if you know the difference between accents, then you don't need to ask that question, because you already know where they're from because of their accent. That makes sense? Cool. So let's move on to the next question. Let's move on to the next question. It's always funny because like I think like, oh, I'm making a video. I gotta like say everything perfectly. But if you've seen my videos, you'll know that people make mistakes. It actually happens, especially when you're thinking in real time. When I make a video, I'm able to edit out mistakes. But what you're seeing now is mostly, well, as natural as you can get, without thinking too much. So if I make a mistake or two, guilty as charged. Welcome to reality, right? But I would be really surprised if I made a pronunciation mistake. I might like flub a word, or it would be interesting to actually play this back and then be like, oh, I said that word wrong. But like I've noticed when I've, kind of like reviewed other people's English, when like Kevin or something makes a mistake, they usually fix their own mistake. So that is 100% normal. So if you don't fix your mistake, that's kind of like unnatural. So anyway, moving on to the next question. So yeah, don't ask where you're from. Honestly, not really useful because one, it's typical, it's predictable, and if you know people's accent, then you don't have to ask the question where you're from, because it's obvious that, oh, you're from Australia, right? So if you want to get to know somebody, then let's move on to the next question. And this question's a real good one, because then you kind of determine, does this person live in Japan or are they a tourist? This is important information to know, because if they're a tourist, then it's like, oh, then I'm just going to assume you don't know anything about Japan, or you only know stuff because you saw an anime. So, but sometimes, a lot of foreigners actually live in Japan. That means they might be knowledgeable about Japan. So it's good information for you to have to know, is this guy a tourist or does he live here? So you say, how long are you going to be here? So how long are you going to stay here? How long are you going to be here? Either question is fine, but so how long are you going to be here? How long ya? How long ya? How long you going to be here? If you say it just like that, you sound 100% natural. You sound like a normal person, okay? So, quote unquote, normal person. So say it just like I say it. How long are you going to be here? So how long are you going to be here? How long, yeah? How long, yeah? How long how long you gonna be here? Say it just like that. Or how long you gonna stay here? And they say, oh no, I live here. Then you go, okay, not tourist. If they're not a tourist, that means, あ、じゃあ日本語できるか? And then, yeah, 日本語できない. Okay, then you really switch into English, okay? Yeah, how long are you going to be here? Good. Unknown, practicing live. Very beautiful. That's what you should be doing. How long are you going to be here? That's what it's, 省略パターンだよね. So how long are you going to be here? 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 days, whatever. Now you have enough information to know who you're talking to. Because if you're talking to a tourist, they only have a limited amount of time that they're going to be here, right? So it's like, okay, then you got to see this, you got to go here, right? And then maybe you can give them advice and stuff like that. We'll get to that in those next questions. But again, if they live here, then it's like, well, why don't you speak Japanese yet? That's a whole other deep dive. Maybe I can make a video on that. Like, I honestly, I don't like to use the word hate, but I do not respect foreigners in Japan who don't learn Japanese. Sorry, that's my opinion. Deal with it. I think if you're going to live in a country longer than 3 months, longer than just a tourist, you should really make an effort to at least say something, And I know way too many foreigners that just never actually tried to learn Japanese, and I more or less look down on them. Sorry. It's just like, you would get my respect instantly, though, if you just tried a little bit to learn a little bit. It's not hard. Just got to do it. I digress. Having learned Japanese, it's one of my pet peeves. But anyway, so let's move on to the next question. This is kind of like a variation of how long you're going to be here. But this question maybe is even more better for like the countryside where you meet somebody and it's like, why are you here? Like, なんで舞鶴まで来たのみたいな。like, ちょっとわかんないじゃん。わけわかんないみたいな feeling があれば、you say, what are you doing here in 舞鶴? What are you doing here? What are you? So what are you? 省略パターンね。What are you? よく使うからさ。So what are you doing here? What are you doing here? What are you doing here in Maizuru? What are you doing here in Wakayama? It could be anywhere, right? What are you doing here in Miyazaki? Right? Like, try to think of what are you doing here in Aomori? Like real countryside. You know what I mean? Like, normally there's no foreigners here, right? So it's just kind of like, what are you doing here in Sinta Kita? Like even in Yokohama, like in the typical suburbs, right? Like, why are you here of all places, right? Yeah. So if you meet like a foreigner in the countryside, you're like, why, right? Like, why aren't you in Tokyo? Why aren't you in Kyoto, right? Why aren't you in Osaka, right? So what are you doing here in, and I'll just say Maizuru because that's basically what people said to me. Like, why are you in Maizuru, right? Like, good question. So what are you doing here in Maizuru? What are you doing here? What are you doing here? What are you doing here in Maizuru? And then you just listen. Oh, I'm here because of my job. Oh, I'm here because I'm an exchange student. That was my story. So yeah, what are you doing here in nantoka, right? Beautiful question to ask because it really allows you to listen to their answer and have a conversation and, get to know somebody, before you judge and just assume something about somebody, like, もう外人だから英語しかできないんじゃない?いやいや、日本語で喋れる外国人いるよね。特に、田舎の方行ったらね。But anyway, I digress again because it's hard to judge people just by looking at them, right? You actually have to have a conversation, then you get the information and they're like, oh, this person is unique. This person is different. So that gives you the information on what you can say next, right? So what are you doing here in Maizuru? What are you doing here in Maizuru? Oh, you're an exchange student. Wow, I've never heard that before. Or, oh, I know a guy who is an exchange student in Maizuru. His name is ky senpai. You don't know what you're going to say until you actually hear the answer. So it's hard for me to give you guys everything, like a script. This isn't a script. It's more like a few questions that allows you to gauge, allows you to measure, and it allows you to analyze the situation so that you know what to say next. So these questions, if you just memorize, 5 of them, you're going to have more than enough questions to basically talk to anybody. All right. So let's do the next question. Now you know that they're here, and maybe they're in Tokyo, maybe they're in Maizuru. Then you say, so what do you want to see while you're here? What do you want to see while you're here? Or what do you want to see while you're in Maizuru? What do you want to see while you're in Kyoto? What do you want to see while? What do you want to? So again, these questions, like the 省略 pattern there. So what do you can use it so many different ways. So what do you wanna, right? So not what are you gonna, but what do you wanna? So what do you want to see while you're here? What do you want to see while you're here? Or where do you want to go while you're here? That's another way. It's a variation, but it's basically the same thing. It's basically, what's your plan, right? So what do you want to see while you're here? Where do you want to go while you're here? And then you just listen. I want to go to this temple. I want to go to Akihabara. I want to eat Kobe beef. I mean, then you start to hear patterns, right? Like, oh, so you're an anime nerd. Okay. Or maybe, who knows? Like, I don't talk to that many foreigners, but, there are patterns like, oh, we went to the Shibuya Scramble. Oh, we went to Shinjuku. There's like a list of famous things that people do. So, listen up, listen to what they say, and then react based on what they say. So, yeah, what do you want to see while you're here? Where do you want to go while you're here? Beautiful question to ask. Sit back, listen to their answer, have a conversation. Remember, this is not just speaking English. It's having a conversation with a real human being. All right? That is the goal. No matter what book you read, no matter what school you go to, no matter what YouTube channel you watch, the goal is to have a conversation with a real person. So use these questions wisely, okay? I need another sip of my Mega Americano. Excuse me. So now we're shifting into maybe giving some advice. Now, rather than just assume they haven't seen anything, right? Like, oh, 外人だからこれ、お寺見たことないでしょみたいな。No, don't 勝手に思わないでください, right? So just ask before you just give advice, right? So basically, have you been to Kiyomizudera yet? Have you been to Shimokitazawa yet? That's a good question, because Shimokitazawa is a really nice neighborhood. I really like it. And I think it's kind of unique compared to other neighborhoods in Tokyo, for example, because like it's more pedestrian friendly. It's more walkable because the streets are narrow, not a lot of cars compared to other neighborhoods, right? So have you been to? It's a question, right? Have you been to Shimokitazawa yet? Or you could be general, have you been to Kyoto yet? Have you been to Kansai yet? You could be very general. Have you been to Kansai yet? Have you been to Kyoto yet? Have you been to Kiyomizudera yet? Like, you can make that area as big or as small as you want, but this is a question that you can ask so that how much experience they have with Japan. If they just got to Japan, they've never been to Japan, still I would ask this question, because then, have you been to Shimokitazawa yet? Well, no, I haven't. Oh, you should check it out. Why? It's unique. It's more quiet, it's more walkable. It's less crazy than Shibuya and Shinjuku, for example. A lot of thrift stores. There's lots of reasons to check out Shimokitazawa, so you should check it out, right? So now you're really having a conversation. but the way you give advice, the way you give a recommendation is to first just double check. Well, have you been to Shimokitazawa yet? No? Oh, yeah, check it out. Okay? So again, questions, listen to the answer, then you know how to have a conversation. All right? Now, what do you think of, that's the next question. What do you think of? What do you think of so-and-so? So now we're getting really deep because maybe it's less about like where you've been or where you're going to go, but now it's like, okay, what do you think of anime? Now you're trying to really get to know somebody, right? So these are more like deep questions, right? Or what do you think of the Japanese train system? You know, there's a lot of things that you could ask about. What do you think of okonomiyaki? You know, you could just ask a question about food like that. What do you think of Japanese work culture? What do you think of Japanese people's English? There's a lot of different things you can ask. But what do you think of nantoka nantoka? It's a beautiful question to really get deep with somebody and get more opinions other than your own and other than your friends. And, you know, hopefully if you're talking to a lot of non-Japanese people, you're going to get like a general consensus, a general understanding, a general idea, a general feeling of how non-Japanese people feel about Japan. Like I could say for certain that most non-Japanese people do not like the work culture in Japan. Corporate work culture, if you want to be specific. So, you know, but that's my experience. If you go out there and talk to people yourself, maybe people will tell you differently. I don't know. You don't know, and you're not going to know until you actually, there you go. What do you think of omotenashi? Beautiful question. What do you think of tatemae, right? Like how deep do you go with this kind of like getting to know somebody, right? You can talk about Japanese culture or what do you think of my outfit? Now you can get personal, right? Like, hey, what do you think of my outfit? Pretty cool, right? Chinoka. But it doesn't matter. Now we're going deeper and now we're going with, you know, way more many like options in your conversation because you could be like, what do you think of my beautiful mustache? Talk about anything now. But, you know, if you want to keep it general, what do you think about, you know, Kobe beef? Whatever. Doesn't matter. Anything you guys want to talk about. What do you think of Japanese? What do you think of Otani? Right? That's a beautiful question too, because like Otani for sure is super popular in America right now. And so it's great to talk about famous people that everybody knows, right? So what do you think of nantoka nantoka? Really powerful question. But, you know, save that for later after you've had, you know, like a minute or two of conversation because now you're really getting deep. So now the last question that I recommend, because once you have too many questions, then you can't remember any of them. So I'm offering you 8 questions. And from this 8, obviously you should learn all 8. But if you can't learn all 8, then I would pick 3, you know, and just memorize those 3. And then once you get those 3 memorized, then learn the other 4. But anyway, the number 1 question. And before we get into the number 1 question, I'm really into my storytelling techniques. And one of these storytelling techniques is called cliffhangers and stuff like that. But basically, guys, also, I do want to help people. Now, you see that link right there? That link is a link to my California Glamour course, where basically, long story short, all of these questions, I teach you the 省略 pattern of all of these questions. So, 教育英語弁の言い方より、もっと英語ネイティブみたいにね、喋れるようになる質問の省略パターンね。So, what are you doing? じゃなくて、what are you doing? の省略ね。So, what was one of the questions I had before? Because all of these questions basically use a 省略パターンね。Oh, Anand, thank you for sending URL. No problem. Because these 省略 pattern, everybody should know these, all of them. And the webpage kind of explains it better than I can do right here. But like, where are you from? For example, where are you from? じゃなくて, where are you from? Right? 省略 pattern. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? じゃなくて, what are you doing here? Right? So, まあ、すべて言ってることちょっとなまってるよね。But, まあ、普通の英会話学校行けば、こういう省略パターンのレッスンがないからね。So, I wanted to share these 省略パターン because seriously, and seriously, you can use them. You can use them anywhere you go, with anybody you talk to, and as soon as you use them, you sound like you speak English. And that is so powerful. Do you sound like a student, or do you sound like somebody that actually speaks English? So what do you think? Oh, wow, you speak English. Your English is amazing. You're like, wow, まあ、省略パターン使っとるから。So anyway, if you guys want to check out the 省略パターン course, click that link right there and just listen, mimic it. It's super simple. But seriously, when I learned Japanese, I had the textbook, and the textbook is like, 何をしてますか? Right? But like everybody in Maizuru would be like, 何やっとん? I'm like, what? That's not in the textbook. So everything that I learned of value was outside of a textbook. So I did buy a Kansai Ben textbook, and that was by far the best textbook that I ever had. 何やっとん? 何しとん? Right? 何見とん? 何聞いとん? 何食べとん? 何食っとん? Anyway, that book literally blew my mind. I was so excited to read that book. And I totally remember because I was reading it and I was like, wow, really? Like, it's that different? And I was in the classroom reading the book, and that I went outside, and my classmate literally just from the window called out to his friend. He's like, 何やっとん? I was like, oh my God, just like the book said. People actually are using this like 省略 pattern, but Japanese has a different 省略 pattern than in English. Anyway, if you guys want to kind of level up, sound more natural, 省略 pattern 使うと、まあ、you sound exactly like a Californian. Like exactly like a Californian. So if you want to sound like a Californian or an American, check it out. All right, number one question that I use literally with anybody that I feel like I really want to get to know. Like, oh, you're cool. I'm genuinely curious. This is the question you should use. This is for anybody. Like, when you really, really do think somebody is cool, somebody has like this like aura around them, they seem different, they seem special. This is the question I ask when you really want to get to know somebody. And this is what everybody does in America too. So it's like legit, 100% legit. Here we go. I want to drink the coffee first. So what do you do? This question reveals everything you need to know about a person if they're willing to have the conversation with you. So what do you do? And again, say it naturally, say it casually, and just say it, like you don't have to ask, what is your job? Or what is your profession? Or any weird thing. Just say, what do you do? And most people know how to answer it. Oh, I'm a YouTuber. That's my answer. People ask me, what do you do? I say, I'm a YouTuber, right? What do you do? I'm a student, right? What do you do? I'm retired. I hear that sometimes. I've been traveling Vietnam. Guy was like, oh, I'm retired, and it's super cheap to live in Vietnam. So you get stories from people when you ask this question, and now you just sit back and listen and go, oh, cool, that's cool, or like, wow, or oh, I know a guy that's retired and traveling too. It sounds nice, whatever. But this is when you really want to get to know what somebody does. And a lot of people, like in America, for example, you say, what do you do? A lot of people have like a part-time job, or they have a job that they're not proud of. And I remember going through this period when before I was really successful with YouTube, I was still kind of like driving Uber part-time just because like, you know, you got to make money, right? So people will say, what do you do? I was like, well, I'm not an Uber driver. I wouldn't talk about my job. I would talk about what I'm working on. I mean, what do you do? And like, oh yeah, I'm trying to build this YouTube channel. You know, I'm building a YouTube channel. So I would focus my story on my future, my positive future that I was working towards, right? So people are going to answer the question according to their personality, and they can answer it a lot of different ways. I don't know how they're going to answer the question. What do you do? But you sit back, listen. That's really the point of having a conversation a lot of times, is to sit back and listen. But still, you have to have the confidence to get out there and actually say these questions. I promise you guys, having a conversation with people is way easier than you think if you just use the right questions and ask the right people. We can get into like, you know, how to meet people, like where to meet people, maybe in another video, but it's really simple, you know. A conversation involves a question and an answer. And there's got to be curiosity. We can also talk about making yourself into a person that's like a curious, how do you say this? How would you say this? Be somebody that's, how do you say this? You want to be a curious person, not because you're curious in other people, but you want to have people curious in you. You want to have people ask, who are you? What do you do? Right? So how do you do that? And that's a whole separate video that we can talk about later. But yeah, what do you do? Yeah, what do you do? That's how I would say it. What do you do? Oh, let me just, silly me. I'm so stupid. So let's go ahead and recap. Actually, let me do it like this. I'll recap one at a time, okay? So the 8 questions, because we're going to wrap this up. Hopefully, I don't want to give too much information because then, you know, you get confused. But here we go. Number 8 was what's up? This is a very easy question to ask anybody. What's up? All right, that's your first greeting. And I would say that to literally everybody that I meet. What's up? Then we go into the next question. Where are you from? Very safe question. You can ask anybody, even though I understand their accent. So I don't understand. I mean, I understand their accent. Therefore, I don't ask this question. But if you don't know the accent yet, you can ask this question. Very typical, very polite. No problem there. Next question is, so how long are you going to be here? This question is very useful if you want to know, are they a tourist or are they somebody that's actually living here, right? So how long are you going to be here? Very important question to ask. And another variation of that question, especially if you live in the countryside, is what are you doing here in Maizuru? What are you doing here in Maizuru, right? That's really useful question because seriously, you get their story, especially if they're in a weird place like the countryside, like that. So, or a non-typical touristy place, right? So then the next question, number 4 here, is what do you want to see while you're here? Where do you want to go while you're here? This is a good way to hear their plans, especially if they're a tourist. And maybe you can give advice if you have any advice to give them. If you're an expert in your local town or whatever. So nice. We got Mr. Komura, cooking, eating now. Nice. Yeah, I know, right? Sometimes when I eat, I just listen to long form content as well. I do want to make more long form content, but I also want to make popular stuff too. So, you know, I got to work on this. You guys got to work on your English. We all have our own goals. Let's keep working on it. Here we go. Number 3. Have you been to Shimokitazawa yet? Now we're escalating the conversation. Now you're giving advice. Now you're really like trying to like help somebody, right? So have you been to Shimokitazawa? You should check it out. It's really cool. Now the next question, number 2, what do you think of? This is a really beautiful question because you can ask, what do you think of, like I said, what do you think of Shibuya? What do you think of Okonomiyaki? What do you think of anything. You could talk about any 小林ね。ごめんね。漢字振り仮名がないとね。すいません。What do you think of kanji? You know, it's really simple. You can ask about anything. What do you think of Japanese baseball? What do you think of Otani? Powerful question, super powerful question. It's just you don't want to do that question at the beginning of a conversation. You want to wait till you've determined, oh, are they tourists or do they live here? Now you can get deep, right? So what do you think of blah, blah, blah. All right, and the final question, the most powerful question when you're getting to know somebody is definitely this one. This is definitely the one I use with anybody that I'm genuinely curious about is, so what do you do? You seem really cool. Like if I meet like a guy or something, like he seems maybe like I don't know, like a digital marketer or maybe some sort of model, some sort of actor. I remember I met a guy in Kyoto who had a big beard like this, and he's carrying a camera, and he's walking around the Ace Hotel. And I was like, dude, so what do you do? You a photographer? He's like, yeah, I'm a photographer. He had a camera, right? But anyway, I was genuinely curious about him, so I really wanted to know. So these 8 questions, totally usable. You should totally use them and use them in reality. So hopefully you go outside, you talk to somebody at the bare minimum, anybody that you see that's like obviously an English speaker, and don't get confused by Russians and English speakers because a lot of times Russians don't speak English. Just saying, just because they're 白人だから英語できる, right? No. You really do have to be polite. Find out if they're an actual English speaker. And once you do determine they're an English speaker, then you can go ahead and go up the list with these questions. So if you guys have any questions, ask me here in the chat. But otherwise, we're finished with this little live stream. It's been an hour. I hope you learned something. What do you think? Did you learn anything? Which questions are you going to use the next time you run into somebody that speaks English outside in reality at a cafe, on the train, at the restaurant, in the park, wherever? But hopefully you literally use these, and this is just not practice, and this just isn't like interesting things to know. This is useful information that you actually use with actual people. So hopefully you get out there and use it. And again, if you guys want to practice the 省略パターン, the California まあカリフォルニア弁っていうかさ、アメリカ英語っていうかわかんないけど、そういうちょっと練習したかったら、俺の、なんだろう、コース、まああるからぜひ、check it out. So guys, thank you so much. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask while I take a sip of coffee here. Otherwise, this lesson's done. I mean, an hour of live streaming. 熱くなりますよね。違うか. Yeah, I would say so too. Unknown. I'm trying to make good content for you guys. It's actually useful. And I don't, watch a lot of other YouTubers. I see the headline and thumbnail. And I'm like, this is too much Japanese. Anyway, I know this is useful because I literally use it. I'm not here to waste time. If anything, the only purpose I have on being on YouTube is that you get off YouTube and go into reality and actually have a conversation with people. That's my goal. So now that we've been on YouTube for an hour, let's get off YouTube together and let's go into reality and have an actual conversation with somebody. I'm in Korea, but anyway, I can talk to anybody in English. Again, if I'm learning Korean, that's a whole other separate subject, but I'm not learning Korean because it's too hard. I can't remember. I'm busy thinking about videos and stuff like that. So anyway, guys, an hour-long live stream. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your attention. But what would please me more than anything is that if you actually go out, use these 8 sentences, 8 questions, and then come back to this live stream and leave a comment. That would be the coolest thing in the world. Anyway, I appreciate your time. And then I will, wait, what are you eating? That would be a good question. But what are you doing, right? But udon, wow, there's so many different little words there. But then there's the words there with the kanji. And those kanji words, I don't take 20 more seconds for me to understand. Anyway, guys, have a good one. Take it easy and talk to you soon. Goodbye. See ya. Bye-bye.